Hello, everyone, and welcome to my top 10 books of 2023. You know I do it every year, so we're going to do it again. Let's go. First up, we have my reading stats. I read 100 books this year, and most of them were reflective. A lot of them were lighthearted this year. I tried to read happy books. Normally, I read pretty serious. The pace, I'm not sure it's super accurate. Page number, not super accurate either, but I read a little bit of short books, a little bit of big. I'm clearly a fiction girly. I'm not into reading a lot of nonfiction. And here are my genres. I mainly read fantasy this year, which I didn't realize I was such a big fan of, but I guess it's nice to know that I have a genre that I enjoy. The format, this is not accurate. I actually listen to a lot of audiobooks. And of course, the authors I read a lot of. I read a lot of Spy Family manga, so he's definitely at the top. I have no idea why it says it read a German book. I don't speak German. And here's the number of pages I read. You can see that in the summer I got a lot more reading time, and as I got back to school and work, I have not had as much time to read, but it's been great. And here are my star ratings. It's 4.53. I think that's pretty good. I'm pretty lax with my ratings. I'm willing to give everyone a shot. And I had 41 five-star books, which I think is crazy. Here are some of the books I rated 5 stars this year. But more importantly, which of the 5-star books are my top 10? Well, you're about to see. We'll start with number 10. Number 10 is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This is about a workaholic who ends up passing away, and he finds himself kind of stuck in limbo. And while he's stuck there, he has to learn kind of how to be himself, how to relax, how to have relationships and friendships. And I honestly thought it was so sweet and heartwarming and almost made me cry because the concept of death and just how people have to let go or move on or be satisfied with what they did or make the most of their life while they have it. It gets me every time. I'm a sucker for a Scrooge story, and this one has all the pieces that just really captured my heart. It's definitely a worthwhile read. I recommend it wholeheartedly. I got mine from my library, and you should too. Number 9 is The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. This is a middle grade novel about a group of kids who are exceptionally smart and talented in different ways, and they are put together in this Mysterious Benedict Society to figure out how to stop another school from sort of making everyone stupid. It's very clever and very cute, and honestly, the way they think about things and the way they solve problems is ways that I wouldn't even think to do. They're very clever, and so reading it was so much fun. It really worked my brain out a little bit, even if it was a middle grade book. I am pretty sure that I borrowed this one from my library too, so I recommend you give your library a go and see if they have it. Number 8 is Antony and Cleopatra by William Shakespeare. This play absolutely wrecks me. There is something about it that is so good to analyze, and having an English degree, I love being able to do that. It's fun to talk about, and I think it would be super fun to perform. It really had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. There's drama, there's romance, there's violence. It's got everything your modern day reader needs to make it enjoyable. Plus, there's just so much to talk about in it. Is Cleopatra a villain? Is Antony even smart at all? How did he get in this position? It's so much fun to read. Highly encourage it. I read this one for a class, so maybe that skews my voting a little bit. Maybe that's why it's lower, but I do honestly think it is such a good read. Number 7 is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. This follows a woman who works in a convenience store and her life and how she actually really enjoys her job, and the people around her keep telling her that she needs to move up in the world or get a move on, get married, have kids, have a business job, something like that. But she's actually really fine where she is, and she doesn't understand why people feel the need to push her to do something that she doesn't want to do. She's very comfortable working at a convenience store. And I just thought that was so inspiring. And if convenience store jobs paid better, maybe I'd be considered to take one too. I think everyone should be able to work where they want, and you shouldn't be forced to conform to what everyone else expects of you. I got this one from my library too. You should see if yours has it. Number 6 is Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. This takes place during the Civil War, and it's kind of a what if scenario of what would happen if instead of the Civil War, the zombie apocalypse broke out, and sort of how that would affect the people who lived in America at the time and the way that enslavers would use enslaved people to handle the zombie apocalypse. It's really heart wrenching, and if you like a zombie apocalypse story, you will love this. I think it's a really interesting way to expand upon people's ideologies and how they even thought about people back then, and how you are willing to justify so much because of fear. I listened to this on audiobook and I highly recommend it. The speaker is just phenomenal. Number 5 is the entire Spy X Family series. I haven't read all of it, but I've read the majority of it from my local library, and it is absolutely phenomenal. It is about a makeshift family of the forgers who happen to have secret identities. The father is a spy, the mother is an assassin, and the daughter is psychic. So she happens to know what her parents do for a living, and of course, chaos and comedy ensue. They're all trying to get their jobs done, and Anya's trying to help her parents be heroes, while at the same time, they happen to be falling for their family dynamic, even though it is technically a scam for all three of them, but it is so heartwarming and so funny. I highly recommend it. As we move to number 4, we move to the books I have physical copies of, and number 4 is Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. This book is about a woman who is a writer and friends with a writer who happens to pass away as the writer is with her, and she happens to steal her manuscript and publish it as her own. And of course, chaos ensues because her friend was Asian and she is white. And so she sort of has to co opt their language, their style, their personality, their race. And the chaos and everything else that ensues from being caught in this lie and having to transform your life because of this lie, and basically how she justifies herself for doing something so insane. It's really an interesting read, and I think the way she does it is very cool. I would certainly give this one a read. Number 3 is 19 Claws and a Blackbird, which is a collection of short stories by Augustina Bazterrica. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. These horror stories are so engaging, and I'm not really one who reads a lot of horror, but I think the way she does it is so interesting and so fun. And honestly, she writes about things that I haven't even really thought of before. The ideas that she has, I mean, there's certainly some crazy stories in here, and I really don't want to spoil them because I honestly think you should just give it a read. I don't think it was too scary, so if you're afraid of horror stuff, I would say I think it's still okay to read. And if you're really into horror, I think the psychological aspects of these are really cool and really fun. And it's a little bit gory, so, if you're into that, you can get your fill with this collection of short stories. Number 2 is My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Backman. I love Frederick Backman. He is my favorite author, so of course, one of his stories has to be on this list. And this one is so heartwarming. I'm pretty sure it made me cry. It's about a girl who's super close to her grandmother, and she lives in the same apartment complex as her. And when her grandmother passes away, she has left behind notes and ideas that the little girl must carry out for all the people in this apartment building. So, all these people who we don't really know, we get to know through the letters that the grandma leaves, as well as the little girl talking to them and learning more about them. And there's sort of a little mystery going on of why the grandmother feels the need to apologize to all these people and what is she apologizing for. She is a very stubborn woman, but doesn't seem like she wants to apologize. So, I wonder why. I think you should definitely read it and find out. It is so good, so heartwarming. I love it to bits. That's why it's number 2. And number 1 is The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. This book is phenomenal. It is about two different people. One is an older man whose wife is a big reader, but she passes away. And he is obsessed with the book she read. And he sort of finds himself wanting to read more because of her. And then we follow a younger woman who lives with her mom, who seems to have some issues, which makes it hard to live with her, but she works at the library. And together they both find this reading list that has a bunch of different books on it. And as they both read them, they sort of discover things about these books and about themselves, and it sort of helps them process the grief that they have, as well as other feelings that they have, just processing losing someone, but also finding community in the people around you, being able to take solace in books, as well as just the community around books and how it can create friendships that you didn't know you would have. I read this in one sitting. As soon as I picked it up, I could not put it down. I absolutely love this book. Please, 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 please read it. And this book takes place in a library for part of it, so I really encourage you to check out if your library has any of these books and read them. Libraries are so important, and I'm not just saying that because I work there. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.